Imagine for a moment that everything you believe about the origin of humanity is wrong. That the sacred texts we know are merely fragments of a much more disturbing truth. What if I told you there's a book removed from the Bible centuries ago that reveals secrets so shocking about our past that powerful religious leaders decided to hide it forever? This is the Book of Enoch, and its story will completely change the way you see the world. In the year 1947, in the arid caves of Qumran, near the Dead Sea, a young Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad Ed-Dib was doing something that would change history forever. Looking for a lost goat, he threw a stone into a dark cave. The sound he heard was not the expected bleating of an animal, but the cracking of something breaking. Something very old. When he descended into the cave, Muhammad found ceramic jars containing scrolls that had remained untouched for more than 2,000 years. Among these manuscripts was a discovery that would make archaeologists and theologians worldwide lose sleep. Fragments of the Book of Enoch, a text that the church had declared lost more than 1,000 years ago. But why was this book removed? What did it contain that was so dangerous? The answer lies in the first lines of the text, written more than 2,300 years ago. Enoch, described as the seventh patriarch from Adam, begins his narrative with a statement that would chill anyone's blood. I observed everything in vision, and I learned through the word of the holy angels who watch, and from them I learned everything, and I understood that it is not for this generation, but for a distant generation that will come. Enoch was writing for us, for our generation. The book reveals that before the flood, celestial beings called watchers, or vigilantes, descended to earth. These were not ordinary angels. They were 200 powerful angels, sent to watch over humanity. But something went terribly wrong. Under the leadership of an angel called Semjaza, these watchers did something unthinkable. They decided to abandon their celestial posts and take human wives. The book describes in disturbing detail how these supernatural beings made a terrible pact on Mount Hermon. Let us all make an oath, said Semjaza to the other angels, and bind ourselves to each other through curses, so that we do not change our minds about this plan, but execute it completely. And so they did. But the consequences of this forbidden union went far beyond what anyone could imagine. The human women who united with these celestial beings gave birth to children who were neither completely human nor completely angelic. They were the Nephilim, giants of supernatural strength and insatiable appetites. The Book of Enoch describes these hybrids in terrifying terms. And they conceived and gave birth to great giants whose height was 3,000 cubits. These consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured humanity. 3,000 cubits. That's equivalent to more than 1,300 meters in height. Impossible beings who consumed not only food but human blood. Gigantic cannibals who transformed the earth into a slaughterhouse. But the corruption didn't stop there. The fallen watchers began to teach humanity knowledge that should never have been revealed. Azazel taught men to forge swords and manufacture weapons of war. Semjaza revealed the secrets of roots and plants, giving rise to witchcraft. Barakul taught astrology, Kokabel the mysteries of the stars, and Turul the signs of the stars. Other fallen angels taught human women even more dangerous arts. How to use makeup to seduce, how to perform abortions, how to create jewelry and ornaments that awaken vanity and lust. Each teaching was a seed of corruption that spread through humanity like a moral virus. In a short time the earth was unrecognizable. And there was great impiety on earth, records Enoch, and they corrupted themselves in all their ways. Semjaza taught enchantments and the cutting of roots, Armoros the breaking of enchantments, Barakul astrology, Kokabel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of clouds, Arakiel the signs of the earth, Shamsiel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. Humanity was being deliberately corrupted by supernatural knowledge. And the Nephilim continued multiplying, devouring resources, spreading violence and transforming the world into a nightmare. It was then that something extraordinary happened. Enoch, the only righteous man remaining on earth, was chosen for an impossible mission. While walking with God, as described in Genesis, he received terrifying visions of what was to come. More than that, he was literally transported through the heavens to witness divine judgments that would make all creation tremble. And it happened that Enoch was walking with God, relates the text, and he was no longer there because God took him. But where did God take him? And what did he see there? The answer lies in the most disturbing visions ever recorded in ancient literature. Enoch describes being taken through 7 heavens, each revealing more shocking aspects of spiritual reality. In the first heaven, he witnessed the fallen angels being imprisoned in eternal darkness, screaming in agony. In the second he saw the corrupted watchers being tortured for their transgressions. And as he ascended, the revelations became more disturbing. He saw the throne of God, surrounded by seraphim whose songs made the heavens tremble. He saw the books where the destinies of all men were written. And, most importantly, he saw the final judgment that was to come, not just upon the fallen angels, but upon all corrupted humanity. I saw there all the works of the heavens, writes Enoch, and how the kingdom is divided among them, and how the actions of men are weighed in the balance. But the most shocking vision was yet to come. Enoch was called to a mission that would test even his unshakable faith. He was to return to earth and deliver a message of judgment to the very fallen watchers who had corrupted humanity. Imagine the terror, an ordinary mortal confronting angelic beings of immeasurable power, to announce their eternal condemnation. When Enoch descended to the place where the watchers were gathered, they immediately recognized what he represented. Semjaza, the leader of the fallen angels, approached with a mixture of desperation and authority that still echoed from his lost glory. "Enoch, scribe of righteousness," said Semjaza, "go and declare to the watchers of heaven who abandoned the high heaven, the eternal and holy place, and defiled themselves with women, you will be on earth and will have no peace." It was a sentence of eternal death. But the fallen watchers, even in the face of condemnation, attempted one last desperate move. They begged Enoch to intercede for them, to write a petition to the Almighty asking forgiveness for their crimes. Beings who had once been princes of heaven now crawled before a mortal, pleading for mercy. Enoch, moved by compassion, agreed to try. He wrote the petition, ascended again to the heavens, and presented the request before the throne of God. The answer he received was as terrible as it was definitive. "Go and tell the watchers of heaven, who sent you to intercede for them, you should intercede for men and not men for you. Why did you leave the high, holy and eternal heaven, and sleep with women, and defile yourselves with the daughters of men and take wives for yourselves, and act like the sons of earth and beget giant children?" There would be no forgiveness. There would be no second chance. The condemnation continued, and now the giants born from spirits and flesh will be called evil spirits on earth, and on earth will be their dwelling. Evil spirits will proceed from their bodies, because they were born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and first origin. They will be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits they will be called. This passage reveals something few understand. According to the book of Enoch, the demons that torment humanity are not fallen angels, but the spirits of the dead Nephilim, human angelic hybrids who became trapped on earth, feeding on chaos and human corruption. Enoch returned to earth carrying not only the sentence of condemnation of the watchers, but also terrible visions of what was to come, the flood that would purify the earth of all corruption. "And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty and the King of ages," he writes, "and behold the watchers called me Enoch the scribe and said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go and declare to the watchers of heaven who abandoned the high heaven, the eternal holy place and corrupted themselves with women, doing as the sons of men do, taking wives, you have caused great destruction on earth." The message was clear, divine judgment was coming and nothing could stop it. But here's the mystery that has intrigued scholars for centuries. If Enoch was taken by God before the flood, how did his book survive the total destruction of corrupted humanity? The answer lies in an even more surprising revelation. According to ancient traditions preserved in Ethiopian and Slavic texts, Enoch not only wrote his visions, he transmitted them to his great-grandson Noah through divine revelations. Noah himself, chosen to preserve life on earth, was also chosen to preserve Enoch's teachings for future generations. "And now, my son Methuselah," writes Enoch in his final message, "all these things I tell you and write, everything I have revealed to you and given you the books concerning all these things. Preserve, my son Methuselah, the books from your father's hand, and deliver them to the generations of the world." Methuselah, who lived 969 years, longer than any other human being, became the guardian of Enoch's secrets. And when the time of the flood came, he passed this sacred knowledge to Noah, who carried it in the ark along with the seeds of all life. Thus, humanity's most disturbing secrets survived the total destruction of a corrupted civilization. But the story doesn't end with the flood. The book of Enoch makes specific prophecies about what would happen after the waters receded. It predicts that the spirits of the Nephilim would remain on earth, influencing humanity toward corruption. It prophesies the return of magic, astrology, weapons of war, and all the forbidden knowledge the Watchers had taught. Even more disturbing, Enoch predicts that in the last days, our time, there would be a resurgence of the same type of corruption that caused the original flood. Supernatural beings would again mingle with humanity, and giants would appear again on earth. And they will take wives for themselves, and everyone will choose a wife each. He prophesies about the last days, and they will begin to approach them and defile themselves with them, and teach all manner of sin to women. And these women will bear giants, and thus all the earth will be filled with blood and iniquity. Are we living in these days prophesied by Enoch? Consider the signs he describes for the end times: unexplainable increase in violence, widespread corruption of leaders, advanced scientific knowledge used for destruction, unprecedented natural disasters, and the appearance of signs in the heavens that would confuse humanity. Even more intriguing are his prophecies about cars that move without horses, a surprisingly accurate description of modern automobiles, and men who speak with distant people as if they were present, a perfect description of telecommunications. Enoch also prophesies about a time when men will build towers that touch the heavens, and believe that with their wisdom they can reach God. A reference to modern skyscrapers and humanity's current technological arrogance? But the most shocking prophecy concerns the return of the Watchers themselves. And in the last days, writes Enoch, they will descend again and show themselves to the sons of men. And men will call them by other names, but they are the same Watchers who fell in the beginning. Could the UFOs and extraterrestrial visitors reported worldwide actually be the fulfillment of this ancient prophecy? Are the Watchers returning in disguise, preparing a new corruption of humanity? The Book of Enoch suggests yes. And there are disturbing archaeological evidences that seem to support these claims. In 1912, archaeologists discovered in the ruins of Çatalhöyük, Turkey, cave paintings over 9,000 years old showing gigantic humanoid figures interacting with smaller beings, clearly humans. The proportions suggest the giants were between 3 to 4 meters tall. In Peru, the mysterious Nazca lines can only be seen completely from the air, as if they had been created for flying beings. The lines themselves show figures that some interpret as astronauts or non-human beings. In Sumeria, cuneiform tablets thousands of years old describe the Anunnaki, celestial beings who descended from heaven and created hybrids with humans. The similarities to Enoch's narrative are impossible to ignore. And in 2019, the discovery of gigantic human fossils in Bulgaria shocked the scientific community. The skeletons measured more than 3 meters tall and had anatomical characteristics impossible for normal humans: elongated skulls, cranial capacity 50% larger than the human average, and a bone structure suggesting superhuman strength. These discoveries were quickly removed from the media and the fossils disappeared into private collections. Coincidence? The Book of Enoch suggests not. It warns that in the last days, powerful world leaders would actively work to suppress evidence of humanity's true past, because this truth would reveal that we are repeating the same mistakes that caused the original flood. And in those days, prophesies Enoch, the kings of the earth and the mighty who possess the earth will begin to lament because of the works of their hands, because on the day of their affliction and anguish they will not be able to save their souls. This is one of the reasons why the Book of Enoch was removed from the Bible. At the Council of Laodicea in 364 AD, leaders of the early church officially decided that the Book of Enoch was apocryphal, non-canonical. They argued that its revelations were too disturbing for common faith and could cause despair among the faithful. But recently discovered historical documents suggest more sinister motivations. Letters preserved in Coptic monasteries reveal that some bishops were concerned not with the faith of ordinary Christians, but with the political power of the church. Enoch's prophecies about widespread religious corruption in the last days were too specific, naming practices that these same leaders were already adopting. If people know what Enoch really wrote about spiritual leaders of the last days, wrote an anonymous bishop, our authority will be questioned and our influence will diminish. The Book of Enoch prophesied that in the last times, religious leaders would become corrupt, accumulating wealth while people suffered. That they would build magnificent temples for their own glory instead of serving the needy. That they would distort scriptures to maintain political power. These prophecies were too specific to be comfortable. So the book was lost. Copies were burned. References were removed from other texts. For more than 1,000 years, only fragments survived in remote Ethiopian monasteries, where Coptic monks preserved traditions the rest of the world had forgotten. Until, in 1947, the caves of Qumran revealed the truth that had been hidden. But even after the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Book of Enoch remained controversial. Seminaries avoid teaching it. Many modern Bible translations remove even the references to Enoch that still exist in other canonical books. What is there in this ancient text that still bothers modern religious authorities so much? The answer may lie in Enoch's final prophecies about the coming judgment. He describes with precise detail a time when humanity would develop technology capable of destroying all life on Earth, a clear reference to modern nuclear weapons. He prophesies about plagues created by men that would spread throughout the world, possible reference to biological warfare or artificial pandemics. Even more disturbing, Enoch describes a time when men will create artificial life and give soul to what has no soul, a possible reference to artificial intelligence and advanced robotics. And then comes the most shocking prophecy of all. Enoch predicts that shortly before the final judgment, the fallen watchers themselves will return openly to Earth, no longer hiding. They will present themselves as saviors of humanity, offering technological solutions to the problems they themselves created. And in those days, he writes, the sons of men will say to the watchers, "You are our gods, save us from the problems we created." And the watchers will respond, "We will give you knowledge so that you can transcend your humanity and become like us." This transcendence would actually be the final corruption of humanity, the complete transformation of human beings into hybrids controlled by the very beings who caused the original flood. Are we already seeing the first signs of this plan? Consider recent developments in genetic engineering, DNA manipulation, and research on human enhancement. Scientists already speak openly about creating superhumans with capabilities beyond natural biological limitations. Billionaire entrepreneurs invest heavily in projects for uploading human consciousness to computers, promising digital immortality. Others work on brain implants that would connect human minds directly to the internet. Does all this sound familiar? The Book of Enoch describes exactly this type of enhancement as the final corruption of humanity, the same type of hybridization that caused the original flood. And there's one more prophecy from Enoch that should make us all pause to think. He predicts that in the last days, shortly before the final judgment, there would be a great revelation, a moment when all the truth about the origin of humanity, about the Watchers, about the Nephilim, and about the complete corruption plan would be revealed to the entire world simultaneously. And on that day, writes Enoch, there will be no ignorance, for all will see and know the truth. And then each man will choose his side with the fallen watchers or with the Creator. And there will be no middle ground. Are we approaching this moment of total revelation? The signs are everywhere. Government documents about UFOs being released. Archaeological discoveries being quickly suppressed. Technological advances that seem impossible happening at accelerated speed. And a growing feeling that something fundamental is changing in the world. Enoch himself offers a clue about when these final events would begin to unfold. He refers to specific times and determined seasons that would mark the beginning of the end. One of his most specific prophecies speaks of a time when Israel will return to its land after 1,800 years of dispersion. A prophecy that was fulfilled precisely in 1948, with the creation of the modern state of Israel. According to Enoch's calculations, this restoration would mark the beginning of a final generation, of exactly 70 years from 1948 to 2018, during which all the signs of the last days would manifest. And after that, the final judgment. But Enoch also offers hope. He writes that even in the darkest days, there would be a remnant, people who would recognize the truth, reject the corruption of the fallen watchers, and remain faithful to the original Creator. These people would be protected during the final judgment and inherit a purified earth. And for the chosen there will be light, joy, and peace, promises Enoch, and they will inherit the earth. But for you wicked ones there will be a curse. The question that remains is, how to recognize if we are part of this remnant. Enoch offers specific criteria. The chosen will be those who reject knowledge that corrupts the soul, are not seduced by promises of artificial evolution, maintain genuine compassion for other human beings, seek truth even when it is inconvenient, resist the temptation of power over others, preserve the natural integrity of creation. More importantly still, they will recognize the signs of the times and will not be deceived by the lies of the watchers who have returned. The wise will understand, writes Enoch, but the wicked will continue acting wickedly. And here we arrive at the most disturbing point of the entire narrative. If the Book of Enoch is correct, if its prophecies are accurate, if we are really living in the last days it describes, then each one of us is being tested at this very moment. Every choice we make, every value we embrace, every moral decision we take is not just about our present life, but about our eternal destiny. We are being watched, evaluated, weighed on a cosmic scale that will determine whether we will be part of the remnant that inherits a purified earth, or whether we will be dragged in the final destruction along with the corruptors. This is the final message of the Book of Enoch. We are not passive victims of cosmic forces. We are active participants in a spiritual war that is coming to an end. And our choice matters. It matters more than anything we have ever done in our lives. The fallen watchers want our soul. The Creator wants our voluntary loyalty. And we have to choose. There is no neutrality in this war. There is no way to sit on the fence. The time of easy decisions is over. And if Enoch was right, we don't have much time left to choose our side. The question that remains is, are you ready for the complete truth about who you really are and why you are here? Are you prepared to discover that your life has a cosmic purpose that goes far beyond what you ever imagined? Or do you prefer to continue living in the comfortable illusion that none of this matters? Because if the Book of Enoch is correct, this may be your last chance to discover the truth before it is revealed in a much more dramatic way to all humanity. The seventh patriarch from Adam left a message for our generation. A message that was hidden for 1500 years, suppressed by authorities who feared its power, and finally revealed in our days. The message is simple. Wake up, choose your side, and prepare for what is coming. Because the days of Enoch are returning. And this time there will be no ark to save us from the storm. Only our own choice between truth and lies, between light and darkness, between the Creator and the corruptors. The time for decision is now. And as Enoch himself wrote in his final words, "Blessed is he who lives to see these days, for he will see both the greatest corruption and the greatest redemption the earth has ever known." The question is, on which side of history do you want to be when everything is revealed? Share this story to inspire more people to make a difference. Because if Enoch was right, every soul that awakens to the truth could be the difference between salvation and destruction for someone you love. The future of humanity may depend on how many people are willing to face the truth, no matter how disturbing it may be. And perhaps, just perhaps, there is still time to choose a different destiny from what was prophesied more than 2,000 years ago.